This is the German Mantle clock movement from the 1970s. It is one of a number of movements that were mass produced. They didn't ever have a brand put on them because they were sold to jewelry shops and clockmakers, who then put the movement into a case and sold it under their own brand name. But that's why it hasn't got a brand on it anywhere. We've already taken it out of the case, taken the hands off. We're now going to start to take the movement apart. First thing we'll do is we're going to remove the hammer. It has a taper pin holding it in, but they're bent over on the other end. We need to straighten that out before we can remove it. Actually, it's going to be replaced, so I'll cut the end off that. Pin is now dropped out, so I'll undo the hammer. It is quite tight. The pin's gone, the pin's not in it. Be careful with the rest of the movement. Might need a set of pliers that have got some grip on them. Hold the post steady while I turn the hammer off. The hammer's off now. I ended up putting a couple of drops of oil on it and letting it sit for a while. The oil soaked into it and it was easier to remove. Right, next step is letting down the mainsprings. For that we require a screwdriver, small, and a let down tool. It's number 8. The size is the number 8. It's a pretty large winding arbor on this movement. So we start winding the movement up a little bit. Catch the click with our screwdriver. And let the spring wind down. That's the strike side. We'll do the same on the going side. Wind the spring up slightly, put the screwdriver behind the click, pull it off the ratchet until the spring is fully let down. You can see the clicks move easily in your hand, so the springs are wound down. Now we'll start to take the movement apart. First thing we do, we'll go over to the back plate. We're going to remove this piece here, which will remove the pallets from the escape wheel, which is that wheel there. This piece is called a back cock. We'll remove that. This piece here is a suspension spring, a piece there, and that's the crutch. That's the piece we bend. If our movement's out of time, is out of beat, we move that, just put it back into beat. So, remove the screws one at a time. Oh. Two. Back cock. And the pallets, remove them gently. Put them aside. Put the two screws over there with them. Now we can start to take the front parts of the movement off. This is pretty much a standard rack and snail movement. That's the rack piece there. That's the snail. This piece up here, just absolutely covered in oil, is the gathering pallet. That piece there is a flirt. We'll take the flirt and the rack off, and then the snail. So first up, round to the back. We see there's a circlip there. We'll remove that. Pair of pliers. I want it to jump too far. Removed. Put him in a dish. So that flirt is loose, now slides out. Put him aside. Now the rack. Open the circlip up a bit. Obviously not quite enough yet. There we go, that's got him started. Move the clip, put it aside with the other one. The rack comes off. Once again, we see the usual problem that we run into: excessive amounts of oil all over the clock. Look at the gathering pallet, the colour on that, that's all oil. Some of the wheels inside are pretty dirty too. We'll wipe that off with a rag before we put the parts into the ultrasonic cleaner. Right, next move. Remove this circlip down here so that we can get the snail off. Put it aside. Just slides off. That's the snail. That's the snail, including a reasonable amount of oil on it. That aside. That wheel there now comes straight off. Right. Now we'll remove the ratchets. That's the going side tray. Put it away in a separate container. Take the ratchet off. The same for the strike side. And the ratchet. All right. Now we need a spanner to fit the nuts, and 7 is not quite big enough. See if I've got a larger one. Yeah, a little bit too big. And 8, 5. Not big enough. 7, a little bit too big. I better try one of these. Too small. There we. Oh, nope, a little bit too big. I haven't got one to fit, so we'll have to use a multi-grip shifting spanner. Loosen the nuts off. Gee, that one's been a bit chewed up. I'll have to square the sides on that again when we put him back in. It's a terrible mess. I'll have to use a pair of pliers on that. Look at that. Excellent. Bit of modern art. This one down here is a bit cut up too, but not quite as bad. So got him now, but dear oh dear. Okay, we'll remove the nuts. Put them in a dish. I'll do that one in a minute. I'll use a little piece of aluminium bar and make a little spanner to fit these nuts. It's going to be too much playing around trying to take them off with pliers. And a shifting spanner I've got here. Slight little bit of movement. Try it again. There we go. Look at the damage that's been done to that nut. Right, that can sit there for a minute, and I'll make a little spanner that'll solve the problem when we come to putting them back on again. Once again, accumulated oil. Oh, look at it on the gathering pallet. Down there, under the click and the ratchet. Super duper amounts of oil. Now we're ready to take the top plate off the movement. We lift it up gently just in case there's any tension left in the springs. And it should lift off easily. That. Alright, we'll take that. Now that flirt's come out, that's not a problem. Yuck, look at the gunk on that. Right, I'll set up those wheels so we can see where they belong. Those out, and that one, and that one. All right. There's the side, and those. I think that is probably threaded. Seems to be. Once we get that clutch off, then the rest will be able to come out easily. That piece with the friction fit and very, very tight. Now we can take the clutch off. That piece there. Put him aside. Now that wheel comes off. And that one. And that washer goes underneath down there. We'll put that there. Now we can remove the barrels. And that's something you never do to a clock or part of a clock movement. Look at the G there. Obviously going side train. If you must mark it, usually two tiny little punch marks. You can hardly see. Hasn't marked that one, I don't think. There's a bit of a scratch, but it doesn't say yes, so we'll take those apart later on, clean them and grease them. Now put the parts back in the correct order, and then we'll move on to the next step. That's the correct orientation of the wheels. Now I'll take them out, put them into our foam block. Then we can prepare the wheels to be put in to the ultrasonic cleaner. And the fly goes there, and the warning wheel goes there. Alright, let's finish that bit. We'll now get the parts ready to put into the ultrasonic cleaner. I'll start off by putting the front and back plate into the ultrasonic cleaner cage first, so they sit deeply enough. We'll put these three parts on. I'll cut some wire. We're using thicker wire today because I can't find my thin wire. Do the job just as well. 1, 2, and the snail. I think that's long enough. Pretty tight. I'll have to use a pair of pliers to tighten it so it doesn't come apart. Turn that down a bit more. Okay, first set. Now we'll do the going side train. First wheel, second wheel, and the escape wheel. Tile them up together. It's pretty tough old wire. Put it in the basket. Now, another length of wire, longer one. Must find that other wire. This is seriously hard wire. Strike side, first wheel, second wheel, also called the star wheel, warning wheel with the pin. And the fly. That'll... No, wire's too thick, it won't go on. Alright. Tighten these up. See if that'll hold. Right, they can go in there. I'll put the fly in a big cage so it doesn't drop out of the bottom of the basket while it's being cleaned. There he is, put him in there. Another small basket to put the 4 brass nuts in. We'll have to square those off again before we can use them. 2 of them are pretty rough. Right. That's a little aluminium wrench I made, so I can put the nuts on easily and take them off. There's our parts ready for the ultrasonic. I'll put them in now, leave them on for 5 minutes, clean them up. Once they come out, then I'll bring them back in and we can see what they look like. Right, the parts are back from the ultrasonic cleaner now. So we'll take them apart, cut the wires off that we had to hold them, the individual pieces together, and then we can move on to the next step. That's the front plate. Heaps cleaner than when it went into the ultrasonic. Back plate. Wiped it down, the grease is gone into the ultrasonic. Comes back nice and clean. That aside over there. We put the fly in this little metal cage here, so it didn't fall through the bottom of the ultrasonic basket. Now the other little mesh basket. Tip the nuts out. Yep, they look nice and clean. Now the snail. Come over there. That thick wire off. Going side. First wheel. second wheel and the escape wheel. Now the strike side train. Here's the hole for that. There we go. Warning wheel. First wheel. And the star wheel. Right, so they're all ready now to move on to the next step, which is checking the pivots and the bushes in each of these plates. There's that one's been replaced, so is that one, but most of them haven't been replaced, so I expect we'll have to do a fair bit of bushing on this. That one's been rebushed, and that one, and that one. Right, so we'll have a few of those to do then by the look of it. Right, now on to the next step. We're now ready to start checking the wheels, the pivots in the bushes, and to see whether we need to do any rebushing. We'll start off with the first wheel, the going side train, put it into the back plate, top plate, put it on top, line it, and then check that the wheels, the pivots on the wheels are all in place. We don't break any of them off. The hammer pins, gathering pallet, cannonaber, the first wheel springs very freely now. The angle right. We're going to look at that pivot there in that bush. We spin it round. Oh, that's pretty good. Turn it over. Making sure all the pivots are still in their bushes and not dropping out. We're now looking at that pivot there, a tiny little bit of movement. Yeah, we'll have to rebush that one. The front one's alright. So, take top plate off again, put it aside, take out the first wheel. We'll mark that bush that needs to be replaced with a felt tip pen. Now, second wheel goes there. Top plate on again. Make sure all our pivots are in the relative are in the correct bushes. Over. Check to make sure they're all in. They're right. Spins freely. Now, we're looking at that pivot there. No, that's pretty good. Very little sideways movement there. Now we're checking that pivot and bush there. Move the arbor backwards and forwards. No, very tight, alright. Well, not very tight, there's no slop in it. Now the escape wheel. Top plate back on. Make sure all the pivots are in the relative bushes. On there, it's got them, they're all down. Escape wheel spins freely. We're looking at that pivot there. No, that's pretty good. Looking at that pivot there now. See what we got in the way of movement. No, that looks alright too. Right. Going side train, we've only got one bush to replace. Now the strike side. First wheel, top plate again. Line the pivots in the bushes. Another one. Got it. Strike lever's moved out. The one that fits onto the star wheel. It's got them. Spins nice and freely. Now, we're looking at that pivot there. No, the one's alright. Tiny little bit of movement, but it's well within spec. We're looking at that one there. Yeah, a bit of movement in that one. We'll have to redo that, in which case we'll check the front one there. Because if we're going to replace the back one, the bush on the back plate, then we'll also replace the one on the front plate. So I'll mark that, put that aside. Mark that one there. Now the second wheel, or star wheel. These lugs on the star wheel are what activate the hammer when the clock is striking. Top plate on again. Whoop, fell out. Put him back in again. Top plate. Oh, it's catching down on the bottom, that's what it is. Cannon arbor in. Now we might have a hope. That's got him. Gathering pallet. And the hammer lever. How are we going? Right. Now. Spins nice and freely. We're looking at that pivot there. No, that's quite tight. Now we're looking at that pivot there. No, that's okay. Top plate off. Now the warning wheel, which goes there. Just check that. The fly goes there, that's correct. Top plate on. It's going to have to go above the top of that. So check our pins once again. Hammer, cannon arbor, warning wheel down a little bit. That's got him. Warning wheel, okay. We're looking at that pivot there. I'll move the wheel backwards and forwards, see if we can see any movement. Nope, not too bad. I'll move the arbor. We're looking at that one there. No, fits pretty well. Right, last piece. Is the fly. That in there. Top plate on again. Check that all the pivots are in the correct places. Tiny bit down for the fly. That's got him. Right. Looking at that pivot there. That's right. And that one there. Oh, that's pretty good. All right. Top plate off. Put it aside. Put the fly back there. So it seems we've got 1, 2, 3 bushes to do. Okay, we'll get set up for that and we'll do some bushing. They won't take long to do, there's only 3 of them. Right, we're ready to start rebushing the plates now. We'll start off with the first wheel, the going side train, which sits there, like so. So first thing we'll do, we'll measure the diameter of that pivot, which is 1.80 mil. That aside. Now we get our box of bushes. We're looking for a 1.875 or the closest. Number 52 is 1.8. Number 53 is 1.9. So we'll take a number 52 out. Number 52. Rubber band back on the box so we don't lose them. First thing as always, the bush on your hand and try to fit the pivot into it. It doesn't fit. You can see it sitting on top there, it's pretty close, but it doesn't fit. So that's the size that we want. I'll put that down there. It was number 52, so we'll write that down. Number 52. We go back to our box. The bushes, number 52. The maximum diameter is 3.50. 3.50 mil. That's the largest reamer that we will need. So we write our data down. Number 52 bush, 1.8 mil. is the external diameter of the pivot, and 3.5 mil is the maximum size that we require for the reamer. Right, first thing we do, take our center finding tool, which is that one there, line it up, put it in our bushing machine, tighten it in, take our plate and set the center finding tool right into the middle. Now we need to clamp the back plate so it doesn't move. That side's not going to reach, so we'll use our fingers to hold the plate firmly once we start. Take the center finding tool out. 3.5 mil is the maximum size, so I'll start off with the 2.47. We'll use 3 different reamers till we get up to the correct size. Right, using slight pressure, push down remove the swarf from it as it cuts in. We'll go up one size, 2.97. Change the reamer. Once again, hold the plate with a couple of fingers so it doesn't move, and turn the wheel and slowly cut through the plate. Onto our third one. This is 3.47 mil. Holding the plate once again and slowly rotate the handle. There we go. Remove the reamer. Take one of our hammer blocks, install it into the machine, tighten it down. Pick up our bush. Make sure that the sink, the oil sink, is on the outside. So we'll put it down that way. Now taking a hammer, we'll give that a light tap just to seat it into the hole, and we can check it, make sure it's all right. Then a couple of taps, we'll drive it home. It's nice and smooth, nothing sticking up there. Move the plate. Get it out of the light. That's the new bush we've put in. Now, we test the pivot on the wheel. We find it doesn't fit in. It goes relatively close, but it doesn't quite fit in. So what we've got to do now is broach that hole out to make it just a tiny little bit bigger. So we have to check and see what size broach we need. That one there for a start. It fits in the hole, but it doesn't go all the way through. We'll set that broach up in a pin vise. Tighten it down. Pick up the plate. Insert the broach into the hole. And then before we start rimming out the bush, we need to have the broach perpendicular to the plate in all directions. So an easy way to do that is to line the broach up with these pillars. And then as we're broaching, very slowly turning it, we're aligning the broach with this post there. Then we'll turn it round a bit and we'll align it with that post over there, so that we're making sure that the broach is perpendicular and cutting a hole perpendicular all the way through. Right, now we need the next size up broach. Take that out. See how this one goes. Yep, that's the next size. Put it into the pin vise, tighten it down. Before we use that, we'll check once again to make sure that the pivot won't fit into the bush. It's sitting up top there a little bit proud. So we have very little to take off. So we only want 2 or 3 turns on the broach, and then we'll check the size of the hole relative to the pivot. Lining up with the pillars there. A couple of turns backwards and forwards. Remove it. Try it for fit. Getting closer, but not quite there. Align it again. Ooh, very, very close. A tiny bit more. That should be very, very, very close. There we go. The pivot sits in the bush. Now, the operation's not finished yet because it fits in there. Doesn't particularly mean all that much. What we have to do is put the top plate on now. Align the pivots, cannon arbor, gathering pallet, and the hammer. What we do now, holding that relatively tight, we try to spin the wheel and it doesn't flow freely. Very close, but not quite close enough. So, remove the top plate, Put it aside. Take the wheel out. Back to the broach again. Couple of quick, very light turns to take the minimal amount of material out. We'll try that again. Top plate on. Cannon arbor back in. Gathering pallet. Strike lever. Now, see how freely that turns? Now we check for end play. To make sure that the wheel can move backwards and forwards between the two pivots, and it does. Alright, that's the first one done. Top plate off. Put that wheel over there. Now that that's done, I'll remove this black text to mark here very carefully. So we know that that's been done. Right, I'll do the other two off camera, then we'll come back. We'll put the whole movement together and check all the pivots and all the end play at the same time. Last thing we do after we've finished all the bushing and check the individual wheels and make sure that they're working properly, running smoothly, and the end play is good, is to put all the wheels in between the plates and check that they all run together fluidly. No good if they run individually, but they tend to block up when you're running them all together. This is a going side train. Second wheel and the escape wheel, running very smoothly. You can see the second wheel moving backwards and forwards. That's quite good end play. The same on the escape wheel. Now we'll have a look at the strike side. The first wheel, you'll wind that round and make sure everything's turning. You can see the star wheel there is turning. The gathering pallet is turning. That wheel there, the warning wheel, and the fly. Check them for end play. You can see the wheel moving backwards and forwards. Not so easy to check the star wheel, but you can see it's moving backwards and forwards. Warning wheel moving up and down. The fly moving very freely. Right, now we'll put the mainsprings back in and reassemble the movement. a word of warning in relation to the star wheel. When you're putting the star wheel in and you've got your other wheels in, you're putting the top plate on, make sure that this wheel with the gathering pallet here lines up with the wheel, with the teeth on the star wheel. If you don't, the star wheel will drop down below there. See, it's in the correct position there now. Once I get it lined up, you'll see it. It's in the correct position, so we can align it. If you don't, this wheel will drop down here under the lantern pinion. You'll never get it to assemble correctly, and or you'll start breaking pins off if you force it. Take that off. And that's what I'm talking about when you put it in together. See how that wheel there is down below the lantern pinion there. Alright, let's put this together. We'll put the strike side mainspring barrel in, going side first wheel, going train mainspring, escape wheel, second wheel, round to the strike side, first wheel, star wheel, we'll leave the warning wheel and the fly out for the moment. We'll put them in once we've got the rest sorted. Now the top plate on. Making sure that we've got the star wheel back so it falls into place. Check that. Yep, that's all right. Put a couple of nuts on these pillars here to hold it together a little bit while we align our wheels. Cannon arbor first. First wheel, cannon arbor. Second wheel on the going train. Escape wheel. We'll put a nut on that pillar there. That'll hold that a bit. Now we can go over the strike side. Now what do we got here? Star wheel. Lift that spring up over that. Gathering pallet, we'll move that down a bit. A little bit higher. Okay, they're right. That one. Star wheels moved. We need to bring that up a tiny bit. There we go. Now the gathering pallet. Hammer lever. First wheel. Right, they seem to be okay. Tighten down the nuts on the end. Now we've got to put in the warning wheel, which goes there. Loosen that nut off. Some of these are going to fall out, some of the wheels, but hopefully not too many. It's the gathering pallet. Now the fly. Gathering. Now we'll get fly goes in there. Warning wheel is moved. That's right. Come on. That's in. Now the fly. Up a tiny bit more, half a mil. That should be about it. Tighten that nut down. Still holding it relatively firmly. We'll check everything's in place. Got those, and the fly is dropped out. I think that's right. That's in the center. The fly up a tiny bit. Right, put a nut on that, hold it in position a bit, a little bit loose. I'll tighten it up with my new spanner. Not too tight, because we've still got to check to make sure everything's in place. Alright. Gathering pallet. Warning wheel has moved a tiny bit. Do the nut. Warning wheel. There we go. And the fly. Now we'll tighten that nut down. A little bit more. The 4 of them down. Now we'll look and see, make sure everything is turning properly. Strike side. Part of the going train. Might start off with putting the crutch and the pallets in. And the back cock, which is in a dish somewhere, the nuts for it. That's the nuts for the back cock. There's the back cock there, with the suspension spring on it. Alright, so goes in there, and we've got a pivot there. We align that pivot there, the bush, the back cock. That's got him. Before I do that, I'll get a screw ready to tighten it down. Okay, line the back cock again. Hold him in place and put the screw in. That started, tighten it up a tiny bit. Get our other screw out. Line the holes. We'll set the pallets in the correct position, that's not too bad. You see the escape wheels turning there, but we'll set that up properly once we've got the rest of the clock parts on. Okay, now we'll move to the front. Next we'll put on the ratchets. Turn that round. Here's the first one. The strike side. Now we'll put the little screw in to secure it. When you're using one of these excellent little screwdrivers, you must remember never to tighten the screw down. It's only just for holding the screw. You'll see the blades there cross over. It tightens up. It's just for holding the screw to get it in position, and then tighten it part way down, and then finish it off with a normal screwdriver. Right, going side, pull the click back, there we go. The screw ready, goes that way. Now tighten it down with a normal screwdriver. Right. Where's our... I'll put a little bit of tension on the strike side. To make sure that everything's moving, even though it hasn't been oiled yet. Okay. Now we're ready to start putting the other pieces on. We want that flirt. Goes in there. Gets almost. Right. Now we've got a circlip to put on that. There's our circlips. There's one of the small ones. These little brass ones. Okay, well, use square nose pliers. We'll clip it into place. Have we or have we not? Yes, we have. There we go. That's the first one. Now, where's the next? This flirt goes in there, and I forgot to put it on. It actually goes on the inside, and I forgot to put it on when I was putting the wheels in, so I'll have to take the last couple of pieces off and put that in, and then I'll come back again. Right, we're now ready to put the rest of the parts on, and then we'll oil the movement and then set it up. We'll start off with the snail and the rack at 1 o'clock. These are the graduations on the snail. That dip right there is 12 o'clock. That's 1 o'clock, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. as it goes all the way round. That little post there from the rack has to sit exactly on top of that 1 o'clock section of the snail. So we'll set that up and check it and see what we've got. Too far around, bring it back a tooth. There we go. That's 12, right down at the bottom. Bring it back 1 tooth. That was 2. That's 1 o'clock. We'll put that flirt down. Right, that's 1 o'clock. Now we've got 2 circlips to put on. First one goes there. I'll tighten that down with a pair of pliers, clip it into place. Now we'll put on the last one. It goes on the rack. Clip it in. Right. Now we'll get the movement oiled. We'll come back and we'll start to set it up. Right, we'll start off with oiling the pivots on the back plate. There, one there. One under the crutch there. Second one under the crutch. Now this side over here. One there. One there. One there. Put two on the hammer lever. A couple in the back of the winding arbor here. I think I put, no I didn't, one on the first wheel. And another one. Right. Turn the movement over. I'll put one up here first. Now we can do the other side. Oh, we're running out of oil, we'll have to get some more. This is the oil we're using, Mobius D5 clock oil. On the circlip, couple on the minute arbor. Couple on the winding arbor. On this flirt. On the escape wheel. Warning wheel. Fly. Star wheel. First wheel, we'll put two on that. Wheel level is getting down a bit. We have got one in there. In there. A couple on the winding arbor. Now, our flirts have to be oiled on the inside. One there. More. One there. I'll put two in there because it's getting down a little bit. Two in there also. It's been done there. And that side. Right. Let that sit there for a minute. Let the oil sink in. There's one there that I missed. The first wheel. The going side. Now we'll wind the mainsprings up a little bit, put some tension on. Then we'll set the movement up. Right, see what we got here. Yep, that's on there. That is a bit loose. I'll have to tighten that up. Let that wind through to 12 o'clock. Then we'll tighten the springs some more. Now, tighten the springs. Right, now we can have a look and see what we've got. Where's our... That's right, lifting on that. I think that, no, that looks all right. Just looking a little bit loose, that's all. All right, I'll check that and see what the problem is. Right, I've wound up the movement a bit more. We'll start turning the minute hand, getting down towards half past. Watch the flirt here, the rack. Get half an hour. Strikes half, one strike. We wind it up to the hour. Gone into warning, you see that? Just over the hour, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock. That flirt here has stopped the rack turning, it's dropped down. This flirt here, that end has come up and arrested the pin on the warning wheel. This one here. That's why it stopped. Alright, we'll wind that on one more. Going around to the half an hour. Gone into warning. You can see the fly moving there. Just over half an hour. That lifts once. The gathering pallet lifts once. Into warning. You can see that the fly moving. just over the hour. Rack drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That flirt drops down behind the rack, stops it moving any further. This flirt here, as we said before, arrests the pin on the warning wheel. That stops the movement. All we've got to do now is put the movement up on a test stand so that I can check and see how accurate it is while it's running. And there it is, all set up and ready to roll. If you want to learn how to service, repair and restore 19th and 20th century mechanical clocks, then subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell.